I will definitely try to reach you. Am I loud enough? Is this clear? Thank you. I got a sore throat just yesterday, so I'll be a bit slow, I'll be a bit calculated, and I'll try to avoid irritating that. Let's start. So hi, I'm Anubhav Singh, and my topic for today is 0 to Serverless AI Agents with Firebase Genkit and IDX. There's a lot of terms I'm throwing there in the title itself. How many of you have heard about those terms? First of all, AI agents. AI agents, do raise your hand high. I'll do this a lot. In my talk, you will have to raise your hand high. Yes, AI agents. Okay, serverless. That's great. Yeah, obviously you are at a DevOps conference. Firebase Genkit. Firebase Genkit. Okay, no one. So I have a good audience. IDX. Perfect. So my main topic today is both, Firebase Genkit and IDX, and at the same time serverless AI agents as well. And just for the disclaimer, although I am a Google developer expert and kind of one of the sponsors sent me here, I will be a bit of democratic about technologies. I'm not going to just try to sell you Google technologies. That's not what I'm here to do. I'll try to be as democratic as possible, and we will look at different technologies as well. That said, a bit about me, if you're interested in any of those. Today, Batman has a sore throat, but otherwise I'm very loud. And yeah, that is all. So let's get started with a disclaimer. Yes, I'm not a DevOps engineer, right? I am at this conference, I understand, and the whole title is like starting with DevOps Malayalam, but I'm not a DevOps engineer. I'm more of an AI engineer, sort of. I started my journey with web development long back, almost over a decade, and yeah, most of my explanations today will be around the AI part, but then the AI engineering part, right? Not specifically trying to explain to you what LLMs are. I think everyone by now has heard too much about LLMs and everyone knows what they do. For those of you who are hearing it for the first time, by LLMs I basically mean the technologies powering products like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, the API part, right? The model part, the backend. And yeah, the agenda today is a bit long. The agenda starts with Firebase and covers pretty much all the topics which I mentioned, and at the end we will have a demo in which we will try to see how we can create serverless AI agent fleet and manage that fleet using obviously the container technologies. Right? So let's get started with Firebase. I saw the entire hall pretty much knows what Firebase is, but just for having everyone in the room on the same page, I'll just give you a small introduction. Think about Firebase as a subset of GCP, right? Google Cloud Platform. For those of you who are users of AWS, think about Amplify, right? With obviously some more services included. Firebase is a much more complete platform in itself. It has runtimes, it has storage, authentication, emailing features, SMS features. So pretty much everything that you need to build an app, a web app, a mobile app. Mostly those are the two primary use cases for Firebase. You see very few people using Firebase specifically for backend stuff, right? Maybe one or two cloud functions here and there, but then most of the times Firebase is for building complete products, right? So Firebase is kind of a subset of GCP, which has a very generous free tier, and all these things you can do within Firebase: build, release and monitor, and then also check your engagement levels, analytics, whatever you want from an app. Pretty much everything you can do there. And a couple of good companies are using Firebase, right? It's not like it's a hobby project thing. Obviously Firebase is great for hobby projects. I think I have somewhere around 60 Firebase projects, and all of them are like MVPs, a perfect tool for building MVPs, but then very much in production as well. And can someone point out a very interesting name in among these companies? Yes? Duolingo is definitely one of the people favorites all over the globe, probably. But I'm looking for a different kind of name here. Something which is slightly conflicting. Why is that name here? Alibaba. Right? They have, yeah. So Alibaba has its own cloud, right? How many of you have tried it? Alibaba Cloud by any chance? One. Back in 2016-17, when they were starting out with promoting Alibaba Cloud, they had probably the most generous free tier among all the cloud providers in those days. I'm not sure about the current condition, but then Alibaba has its own entire kind of replica of AWS. But even then, they are customers of Firebase. Tells a lot about Firebase in itself. As I said, more of a complete platform instead of just being a subset. So let's move forward. What is Genkit? Now, this is the interesting part. No one raised their hands, so I will try to take some time in trying to explain what Genkit is. And I think the second paragraph actually reads much better. Right? How many of you have used LangChain? LangChain, yes, one. Okay, most of you are DevOps engineers, I believe. Yes, so you have not used LangChain. Okay, now think about this. If you're building LLM-based apps, right? Large language model-based apps, and maybe today you want to try out Gemini API, and for some reason you want to also test out how does let's say OpenAI's APIs work with this, or maybe you want to put something else, maybe your own self-hosted model. I think SLMs are getting really popular today, right? So if you have all these bunch of models you want to try out with the same application, with the same infrastructure, with everything remaining the same, how do you do that? Right? That is where a project like Genkit comes in. Genkit unifies the interface with which you build your application. So once you have installed Genkit into your backend code or maybe even front-end code, after that you do not have to worry about which API I'm using. You can simply change the API by changing a single variable and you are done. Right? So it's that easy to maintain, to use a lot of different LLM services within the same interface using Genkit. So Genkit is more like, think about, you might have used, let's say, Make My Trip to do flight bookings, right? Or maybe even hotel bookings. In Make My Trip interface, you just have to focus on the MMT interface, right? You don't have to worry about what is the booking APIs like of, say, Vistara, what is the booking API like of, say, Indigo, right? You don't have to worry about all of those, right? So a very similar thing is happening here. Genkit is like that MMT for you, and it is taking care of all the different sorts of API interfaces which have been developed by all the LLM providers, and you just have to focus on your own main application that you are building. So that is what Genkit does for you, and let me actually try to show you a very quick example of Genkit. Let me open. So I'm just going to show you an example of Genkit from a different project that I did earlier. And once you have installed Genkit, by the way, the command to install Genkit is something like this, npm install. You can install it globally for better use case. If it is not appearing properly, I can try to show the same to you in a text editor. Yes, this is the command which I'm going to run on my terminal to install Genkit. And once you have installed Genkit, you can do something like Genkit init to get started with Genkit in whatever new project that you want to instantiate. If you do not want to instantiate a new project, you can simply do Genkit start, assuming that you have already set up your Genkit, and let's get started. Right. So once I do Genkit start, this is a Node.js based project, and it gives me a UI like this. Right. In this UI, you can see on the left side there's flows, prompts, models, tools, retrievers, indexes, embedders, evaluators. Right. For those of you who have worked with LLM APIs or LLM-based products, you know that LLMs by themselves are not products, right? They are just API which brings out some data which it has already been trained on. If you want to use that LLM for your own company's data, for your own customized data, you would want to include something maybe like fine-tuning, but then it just remains the model, or you could go for other techniques like retrievers, indexers, like those, right? So there are basically algorithms which you have written by yourself, programs that you have written by yourself to fetch data from certain data source, popularly known as retrieval augmented generation. And to do that, you will need retrievers, indexers, and obviously embeddeds as well, so that whatever data you have customized, that can be converted to a format which the LLM understands. Otherwise, LLM will directly not understand the text that you have, maybe in the form of PDFs, maybe in the form of images. It could be anything, right? So all of these things you can attach within Genkit itself, and it becomes really easy to use, right? So let me show you how easy it will be. For example, right now I'm using a model called Qwen 2, 0.5 billion parameter model. It's a very, very small model, just 500 megabytes. And let me just write, hey, whoop, what happened? Error running this, invoke task. Yeah, I believe I have probably made some mistake here. So let me check what's going on. Okay, my Gokulam is not running. Now my Gokulam is running. Yes. Then start. And let's go back to the same UI. Get refresh and let's hope it works. I believe it does. It takes some time at the first to load the model to the memory, and then you start getting responses, and the responses are going to be very fast, right? Because it's running locally on my machine, and you can run it on a CPU as small as 2 GB RAM, right? So this is just one model. If I want to use another model, as I said, right, the best part of Genkit is you can use multiple models, right? So if I'm not going to show you that, that will be wrong. Let me split this, and let me close this pane. Let me open the code editor, and here you see it's Olama model Qwen 2 0.5b, as I showed you in the UI itself. This one, right? So I'm just going to change this. I also have other models installed. I think you saw when I did Olama list, I have Tiny Llama, I have Llama 3, and let me just go ahead with, let's say, Tiny Llama latest. All I need to do is change this one small variable, right? It could have been a variable. Right now it's just a hard-coded string. And when I go back and do Genkit start, and now if I refresh this, the model has changed. Now it's Tiny Llama latest, and I can again just do the same interface, everything saying no changes. My app remains exactly same. Right, and whatever time it takes to load it into the memory, and after that I should be getting a response right about now. For some reason, Tiny Llama thinks I asked it a lot of questions, but I did not. The LLM is probably hallucinating, but then it works, right? So if you have other models which are smarter, which are more capable, you will probably get more fine-tuned responses. That said, this is the power of Genkit. And let me get back to my slideshow. And let me talk about Project IDX very quickly, right? Project IDX, very, very new, very fresh. Recently at Google I/O Connect Bangalore, it was announced to be available to all Indian users. Before that, it was only available to a select few users, but now it is available for everyone. And so IDX is basically a cloud-native IDE, right? When I was preparing this talk, the organizer asked me if I could send him the slide deck, but I could not. One of the reasons being, yeah, it would be wrong to not show it, right? So let me just go ahead and do that. This is what Project IDX looks like. It's available at idx.google.com. The link is obviously available within my slides at the end of the session. I'll share the entire deck with you, and you can click all the links. You don't have to note down the links right now. Right, so within Project IDX, if you see, there's a bunch of runtimes pre-installed which you can use. You don't have to worry about the RAM, you don't have to worry about setting up all the runtimes. It's all available within the cloud. And you see here, it's Angular, Next.js, Flutter, Gemini API, Astro, Golang, Python Flask, Node Express, and the latest entrant is Android Studio. Anyone who has worked on Android apps before? Yes, it's a great room heater in the winters, right? So your laptop burns, it won't anymore because it will now run inside a browser. So Android Studio is going completely on cloud with IDX, and for our use case, we are going to use Golang, right? Why Golang? Because Firebase Genkit as of today is available for use with Golang and Node.js, right? So these are the two languages supported with Genkit right now. Hopefully there will be more support coming in, probably for Python. I'm not sure because Google kind of let go of their Python team. So yeah, we don't know. I'm a Python first user, but then Golang is great in itself, right? So how easy it is, let me just get you started. AI is a demo, and I'm going to choose backend server for my use case. Let me click on create, and a bunch of initialization steps: setting up workspace, initializing environment, building environment, and finalizing. It does not take a lot of time. I think somewhere around 3 to 5 minutes on a good day. Obviously depends on the load that is coming in onto this system. But yeah, once it is done, is it done? Okay, here we are. It's a VS Code running inside the browser, and it's a customized VS Code. It is obviously not the vanilla VS Code that we can probably use at vscode.dev. It's not the same. It's customized, and in which manner is it customized? That is very interesting to see, because on the left you have the code, and on the right, if you see, they're starting a preview of whatever code that you're doing, and it's all auto deployed. Hot reload is available. You can just keep coding on the left, and you will see the preview on the right all the time. So if you are traveling with a very light laptop and you want to get something done, I think IDX is a great place. I think, so today morning I was using IDX to set up my demo, and it was like really easy to use it. I did not have to install a bunch of things, and whatever I had to install, it's all happening on Google server, so it does not matter that I was on the hotel Wi-Fi, which was like 5 Mbps. I don't have to worry about that. Right, so it takes some time to start the preview. Let's not worry about that. In my case, I have already created my code. How many of you are Golang developers here? Golang. Okay, Python? Okay, lot more. So I will explain the code to you in Python. I have created 2 versions of the same code for the AI agent, and yeah, there you go, right? Hello Gopher, and it's just a hello world kind of application which they have created for you. You can change this. In my case, I have already changed it and created the code. It's available over here, right? So it will do the same setup. As of now, once you have started a project, the next time you start it within some amount of time, it will not take a lot of time, but if you leave it for like a couple of weeks, it will again do the whole cold startup thing. Right, so in my case, I have already created the code for the AI agent here. Let me walk you through the code. But before that, I think I should cover a few more topics. What are agents, right? I have been talking about agents a lot, and you can skip reading that. You can probably read that later. Think about this movie, right? That reference which I've given, Matrix. How many of you have seen Matrix? Yes, a lot of you. Okay. For those of you who have not seen the movie Matrix movie has that guy in the middle, that people in suits who are basically capable of cloning themselves, right? People are inside a computer world, and the computer world has these agents who come and interact with the real users who have gone into the computer world, right? So pretty much like how it happens in a company, right? In a company there are a lot of workers, and you can assign them the task and they will get the task done, right? You can have an entire team working on the same task, or you can have just one developer working on the same task. That particular developer at that point is an agent, right? A coding agent, right? So think about agents as it's mainly just a program with a specific set of instructions designed to execute a certain task, right? I think the best example of agents will be Google's crawlers, right? Have you heard about crawlers? Yes, these are programs which go to every website, they scrape the data and they push it to Google server, and then that's how Google search works. Obviously a lot of mumbo jumbo inside, but then that is how agents essentially work, right? It's a whole fleet of same program which is doing the same task over multiple websites in parallel entire time, right? These are what agents can do. Agents will have a specific task, they will have a specific output, right? So when you use generative AI or any kind of AI to create such agents, such that these agents are capable of making decisions on the fly in their runtime, they probably take some user input, and based on that, they use generative AI to generate an output. That is what we call as AI agent in today's date. And people who are actively following the AI world, you know that people are calling 2024 as the year of agents, right? So, so far people have been talking about agents, yes, but then I think the next step would definitely be a swarm of agents which is all serverless. Do you agree? Right? That is what we do all the time, right? Whenever we make a big application, over time it keeps becoming leaner, and when it is small enough, we try to deploy it at the smallest possible runtime. That is what we do with almost every software. Think about LLMs. When ChatGPT came out with a boom, people were like, how are we even going to catch up with this? And then you had open source models start coming out, and all these models then came quantization, models became smaller. They became so small that it's down to, I think Hugging Face released small M, which is somewhere around 136 MB, and it is able to produce coherent responses. Right? I won't say very smart responses because it's a very small model, but 136 MB runs on pretty much everyone's phone. Right? It can probably even run on some Arduinos. Right? I'm not really sure what is the most powerful one, but it will probably do. Right? So think about this, right? We do that. And when we have agents as of today which are probably using some APIs, agents which are probably using large models, we can definitely look at a future where we have serverless agents which we are just able to control with a click of a button, and these agents go and get the task done. Right? Probably there are 1,000 PDF files which have to be indexed, and instead of sending one application, one script which is running through 1,000 files, you can probably send 100 agents, and they will all process 10 files each and get it done much faster. Right? So that is what we are trying to do in this particular session. Towards the end, I'll show you that. And coming to Cloud Run, right? Because I mentioned the word serverless, and that is why I'm going to talk about Cloud Run. Not a lot. I know all of you know about Cloud Run, but those of you who are new to the GCP infra, think about Cloud Run as an alternative to AWS's Lambda, but without any restriction of runtimes. Right? It's completely flexible. You can have memories up to 32, 64 GBs if you want it. Obviously for 64 you will have to contact Google Cloud support, but then up to 32 is available to everyone. Right? So 32 GB of RAM inside a single AWS Lambda, that is not happening on AWS, but that happens on GCP with any runtime. If you want to use any XYZ language in the world, you can do that. Right? So bring your own runtime, put it on Cloud Run. Create a container, just put it on Cloud Run. Cloud Run will take care of all the instance scaling, scaling up, down, whatever you want it to do. Right? So that done, I think we are near to the demo, and here's some code base which I'm going to work with. Just take a look at the names of the code bases that I'm going to work with right now. There's a fleet manager. So there's a UI which I will use to control whatever fleet I'm working with. Then there's the fleet worker, which is written in Python, and the same has been again written in Golang plus Genkit, right? So the Python one is not using Genkit, and I'll show you why I have created two versions, right? So Python fleet worker and then Go plus Genkit fleet worker, and yeah, let me close this. If it closes. So here's my terminal, and okay, yeah, this is good. You're probably able to see that those two terminals, they are both fleet manager, and this particular terminal is Go agent fleet worker. So this is the Golang fleet worker, and the one below is actually the root repository. I'll show you what goes inside this. There are, as I said, three code bases, right? One of them is the Python agent fleet worker, and then the other one is the Go agent fleet worker. Right now, fleet worker, what is my fleet worker doing? As I said, I will explain to you the thing in Python instead of explaining it to you in Golang, because not a lot of people are aware of Golang. So let me just go to agent fleet worker, and I will do code. And here we are, right? So Python fleet worker is not using Genkit. As I said, Genkit is not available for Python. It's directly calling the API via an API call, and it's basically generating a few jokes based on a personality which I'm providing for each worker, right? Each agent will have a different personality, and for each personality it will generate some jokes, and my prompt basically is your personality is this much, provide a list of 20 pipe separated jokes, tightly in line of, and I've also provided a format. You can see the prompt on the code base when you get to click the links. And after generating the 20 jokes, it is storing it in a variable. And then there's a webhook endpoint, and it will keep posting the jokes periodically at a difference of 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds, it will hit an API and try to push a joke to that API. Right? So it's doing the task. What is the task? It is hitting the webhook. Right? So it is continuously pushing out jokes to an API, and that is pretty much all it's doing, right? So generate 20 jokes, push it to a webhook every 5 seconds. You could do it the other way, right? There's some data on a webhook, just keep fetching it every 5 seconds. That could also be done, but that is costly. I don't want to make that. That's like living up to your imagination. So once that is done, a very simple Docker file, nothing interesting here, is as basic as it could be, right? So once I have created the code base, all I need to do is Docker build something like this. I have given it a tag name, and in my case I'm not going to build this because I've already built this, and I want to show you the difference in the images, right? In the Golang code, it's exactly doing the same thing. It's doing nothing different, just in Golang, using Genkit, obviously. So if you see, there are actually, there's a Go agent fleet, and then there's the agent fleet worker. I have missed the word worker here. And if you see their sizes, right, the Go agent fleet worker is just 32 MB, while the Python one is 191 whopping MBs. Right, so obviously it's a much leaner and quicker choice to use Golang, and considering Golang is using Genkit, agent fleet in Python is not. So if I want to use OpenAI tomorrow, I will have to change the entire code base. If you see in the Python code base, after hitting the API, I'm doing something complicated like this. Data is equal to data candidate 0 content part 0 text, right? Not a good idea. Because the moment I change the API, I'll have to figure out what that API is returning, and then accordingly I'll have to change this. So the Python app is much more, in code terms, it is much more linear. It has no extra dependencies. It is just pure Python, but then it's 191 MB. And at the same time, using Genkit, this is the Golang code. And Golang code, if you see, is slightly longer, but it includes the uses of Genkit. Right? So using Genkit, all I need to do if I change my model is simply change this one line. Right? This one line, if I change, it will start using another model, I will not show that right now because I do not have a model endpoint configured right now. But if you do want to test it out, this is the one line which you will have to change, right? So that's it. The same prompt is again provided here, and I have already built the images. Now the interesting part, right? Fleet Manager. What does the Fleet Manager do? The Fleet Manager at this point of time does two things. One, it has a webhook.py, which in itself is a Flask app, and all it does is receive some JSON data. Whatever is being hit on this webhook, it receives that, and it simply displays the same thing. It does not do anything else, right? So webhook we will run separately in one terminal, and in the other terminal we will run app.py, which is the most interesting part. App.py has this function, add agent. Agent takes title, personality, replicas. I have not implemented replicas, but you could definitely do that. All you would need to do is run this part in a for loop. That is all. Right? So I'll not show you how to run a for loop. Rather, this is the more interesting part. This is basically the dictionary conversion of the deployment.yaml. Right? So deployment.yaml is this file. Right? So you might be more familiar with this format of running deployments, and if you see, it's pretty simple, right? Nothing fancy going on here. It's just creating a particular Docker image in my local library and just running that, exposing the port 5000. That is all. So the same thing is here, just that everything else is a variable which is coming in from the Flask get data. So I'm going to submit a form, and it takes that particular input. Right, so add agent, and obviously there are APIs to remove agent and list the agents as expected from any CRUD-based application. Fleet Manager is definitely going to be a CRUD. And let me try to run all of this. Right, so Go Agent Fleet Worker, I've already built, the images available here, and I will need a Minikube dashboard. I'm using Minikube for local development. I do not want to have something as big as anything else. So Minikube is here, the dashboard is available to us, there's nothing running right now. Let me do Python app.py, and as I said, I'll need a webhook, so Python webhook.py. Right now there's nothing happening on the webhook, right? Everything's static, nothing is happening, nothing is going on in the system. Now let me open the Fleet Manager UI. It's a very basic UI, I'm not a UI developer. So let me name it, let's say Sailor. Right, and you are a pirate, talk in pirate language, and joke about the seas. Right, so this is one of my agents. As I said, you could choose to have replicas. In my case, I'm just going to create one of each. Let me create this agent. The agent is in pending state right now. Now it's in running state, and you can see the same here. Agent Sailor is available, running one single pod. Right, and what is it doing? It's posting pirate jokes on this webhook, and you will see a new joke every 5 seconds coming in here. Obviously, the 20 jokes are already generated. Now, let's make it a bit more interesting by adding some more agents. Let me have a wizard. You are a wizard from Harry Potter world. Joke about Hogwarts. Right. Let's have one agent. Oh, maybe I can just create multiple of these. Wizard 2. So I'll have a lot of wizards-based jokes happening right now. Let me also make a politician. You are a politician, make jokes about unrealistic development claims. So all of them are pending. It does not take a lot of time to get activated. If you see, there are 5 pods running here, and boom, a lot of jokes coming. Why do Slytherins always win the Quidditch Cup? Why is it hard to tell if the troll is lying? What's best about a dragon? A lot of jokes coming in. Yes, so my agent fleet is doing its work. Right now it's posting jokes at a random place. I suggest not to run this on any external endpoint. But yes, you can use an agent fleet to get your work done easily, faster. If you want replicas, just run a for loop. And that is pretty much it. They have been ringing the bell asking me to move away, so I will do that. And Some resources here, Firebase Genkit, Gokulam, Project IDX, Cloud Run, Vertex AI Agents, right? If you don't want to do all the hassle which I have done myself, you can simply go and explore Vertex AI Agents, which is available within Google Cloud and gives you the whole setup without any code. That said, do I have time for questions? 1, 2? No? We'll take the questions offline. Sorry for that. I'll be around here for the entire day. And if you want to get connected with me, I have the same username pretty much everywhere, be it LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. So the same username everywhere. You don't have to worry about this. You can get the deck by scanning this QR code. Right? So you will get the entire deck. You can click all the links. You will have all my contact details. Or else you can type out that URL. Okay, I see a couple of people taking pics. And that is all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.